Matt here. Well, we just had a random project get dropped off. Well, actually found on the internet. So, how about we go pick it up and then let's get at it.
Okay, I have always wanted an arcade cabinet. It's kind of one of those things. Unfortunately, one of the things for me was always cost and space. And you can do different methods here. And this is one of the reasons this video series is not going to be as in-depth, because I took an old arcade cabinet, and depending on what type and what one you get, there are some differences you're going to have to make decisions. So this can't be an in-depth guide, but it gives you a very good idea on what you can do with an arcade cabinet. So there are three main components of this build, and let's look at them before you actually start. Okay, number one, you need to look at your cabinet itself. Now you can make them out of MDF, out of plywood. You don't have to build a full size. You can do a mini cabinet. There's lots of great plans out there. It's awesome. Just YouTube it. There's really cool ones. Okay, so once you've decided your cabinet, next part is electronics. Now this can be incredibly expensive or incredibly cheap. It breaks down to three main parts. And it can be your cheapest or most expensive. That's the electronics. So your TV, you can go super fancy and all this. I ended up going to a thrift store and buying one for $5-10. Perfect. Okay, or you can go and get the fancy arcade official ones, or like fancy, yeah, you get the idea. Okay, next part is your buttons. Honestly, Amazon, you get your quality. I will say don't go for the cheapest, because you always get what you pay for. Just make sure that your buttons go to the next part that we're going to talk about, because you want, like for me, I had to make sure I was USB compatible, because the next part is your computer. Okay, you can use an old computer, because arcade, especially if you're going older stuff, are not graphically heavy. You don't need a fancy computer. Like if you had 8 gigs of RAM and a decent processor, and if you even happen to have a video card, that'd be like holy cow over. I'm just using a Raspberry Pi. I'm actually using a Zero in this case because this project wasn't planned, and I still want an arcade cabinet, so I'm probably going to upgrade later, but this is just to get me going, and I can play Street Fighter 2. And let's be honest, that was kind of the whole start of this. So those are your main components. And yeah, let's actually get to the build. Okay, one of the big things here is, sorry for the kind of garbage lighting. We're still kind of through renovations and we haven't got all the electrical up yet. But this is what I managed to pick up. And we're going to look through it closely. Sorry, I didn't get any footage of kind of in my truck or unloading it, because it was trying to rain as we were picking it up, and I wanted it in my shop so that we could actually keep it safe. How about we get this off and let's take a look on what's inside and what I actually picked up. Okay, one of the reasons I picked this arcade cabinet is, number one, free. Best price of all time. Number two, it looks like it's been serviced, repainted, refinished, parts replaced, like many times over. I don't think, minus the board, which I am going to salvage and actually throw up on eBay for almost nothing, probably free starting, just if somebody needs the pieces. But there is no CRTV TV left in here. The glass has been replaced before. The artwork's chipped and actually been painted over and tried to be repaired. So like, it's not original anymore. And that was a big thing for me, because I don't want to destroy one of these cabinets if there could be restored to original. This one is way past the point of no return, I think, and I found a lot of things. So I'm gonna, now let's tear out the guts and let's actually get going on that. Okay, as you can kind of see here, we've got a bunch of parts and just a bunch of stuff that the old system has in place. Now, one thing I do want to point out is if you're dealing with the power systems, as you can see, we have like a case over top of it here. You want to make sure you're incredibly careful, because these, even if they've been plugged in for a long time, they can still have a charge. And the last thing you kind of want to do is get yourself hit with one of those. So I'm going to carefully take out as much of this board as I can, because like I said, I'm going to salvage as much as I can for I'm going to offer it up for a collector, or because I really think that this might be the find of the century for them. So I'm going to keep taking it apart carefully, and let's go from there. Okay, you can kind of see here what I'm doing is I am actually trying to preserve as many of the pieces as humanly possible. One of the big things I want to say is try and keep, if you can, if you have the room, to have a table like this where, as you can kind of see, I'm trying to keep all the pieces that are spare nice and organized. And in this case, preserve as much of the original as I can, because my whole mission here is, yes, I want a cool arcade cabinet, but who knows, maybe this is somebody's absolute favorite video game of all time and they're missing these pieces. Now, this is where the old CRT, I'm assuming, was going to go, or was. And so I'm just going to take out all these panels, because what I'm going to do is put a flat screen TV in, and I'm just going to build a little platform right in here to fit it. So it'll be nice and easy at that point. Okay, let's keep going. Couple things with chipboard. The only thing I was sanding was I was just trying to shake things loose up. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take a knife, an X-Acto knife, and just, believe it or not, cut the edges a bit, and then we're going to use wood filler. Like, I'm not doing a whole lot because there's a lot of ways it would be cheaper to buy a new piece, but this is 3/4, and I have a little bit, I have enough to replace the back, but I don't want to buy a whole 4x8 sheet for a couple pieces, so I'm going to salvage as much as I can. So in this case, as you can see, I'm just going to take the edge, because a lot of time, that's the issue. And you just want to be nice and slow. You don't want to be crazy. And I'm just cutting back until the original level. And yeah, so there we go. That looks a lot prettier. Okay, let's keep going with this. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm basically just using a bunch of glue, screws, and any place this old wood is moving apart, because I don't just want to use the old staples, because that's kind of why we're here. And so these things get heavy they're heavy, flat out. So all I'm doing here is I'm just using a bunch of glue, screws, and I'm also using drywall screws because they are, I find, better when it comes to MDF or anything like that, just because it grabs a lot. And yeah, we're gonna go from there. Let's keep going. Okay, so now that we've kind of got this cabinet, I don't know if it's perfectly together because we still got the top drying and stuff like that, is we want to start sanding. Now, the thing is with sanding, especially with something like this, I don't necessarily have to go to the wood. All I need to do is get this gloss coat off, because this gloss coat is what's going to prevent the paint from sticking to it. And number two, just get it flat. Like, over the years, like, well, this has been refurbished before, so like there's bumps, bubbles, and stuff like that. This is pretty cool, but the original paint job is actually like dead flat. I think it's a graphic actually. But anyway, so I'm just gonna sand this till it's flat, and even if it's flat, I'm gonna scratch it up, and we're gonna use basically a primer that sticks to anything, and that's the plan. We're just going to sand, scratch, prime, and then as soon as we have priming, that's when I like to put stuff together. Now, the reason I don't put it all together in priming is sometimes, honestly, just rush to wait. And priming is also a good chance for me, I find, to see if there's any imperfections, because sometimes you miss stuff, and priming, I see, does do it. Now, I know this is kind of counterintuitive. On projects from newer material, I actually do the build-in everything first and then priming. But for projects like this, where I'm kind of seeing what to salvage and not, that's where I especially like to prime, because sometimes it just shows magic. And also sometimes you can hide some stuff in there later, so it's kind of nice to have it priming, and then you can put a bit of wood filler, you know, whatever else you're gonna need. Okay, let's go get a like a dust mask on, because I don't want to be breathing this stuff. When you're doing this kind of stuff, you don't need as fancy as this. I have it for other stuff, so I'm gonna use it, but just a regular like cloth dust mask will work. I just don't want this stuff in my lungs, so. All right, that's it for this video. This video was intended to be kind of what you need and how to get started on this project. And yeah, that's about it for this. So if you like this video, why don't you hit the like button? Even better, subscribe, check out all the content that's coming. You know, we are constantly putting out new stuff, and we're doing a video a week at this point. And hopefully when we get more people working with Random Maker, we can start producing more videos than just that. If you have any ideas for projects, leave it in the comment below. And, you know, that's about it. This is Matt from the Random Maker saying until next time, let's get making.